Good morning, adventurers. My name is Ben, and welcome to a morning show where I sit around, drink some tea, and talk about D&D. First up today for T&D, we have our Dead People tea mug. I realized I haven't really used this one a lot yet this season, even though it is one of my favorite mugs that I own. Yeah, I love me a good comment. And inside of it, we have some Arnie & Sons Gunpowder Green. Pretty much my favorite one that I've got right now. So, you might be asking yourself, well, what is the occasion with which you are having these two things at the same time on the same day? It's just a Tuesday. I figured it was as good a time as any to go ahead and bring back a couple of sort of like the original favorites because we are officially sort of relaunched-ish for my Patreon page, which is super, super exciting. It is now focused entirely on helping support this show here and letting me produce this show in particular. I'm really excited about it. There will be some homebrew every once in a while that I post just because I have it in my Patreon feed, but it is not going to be the focus of it anymore. The biggest change to that, really, more than anything, is that I have adjusted a couple of the tiers, adjusted the rewards that are associated with the tiers. So if you're one of my patrons, please go check it out and make sure that you are at the spot that you want to be at. But the biggest addition here is the fact that now there is a tier at which the $5 tier that you get access to another show. A whole nother show. It is going to be happening on the first and the third Sunday of every single month. I will be posting it directly into the Patreon feed. It is going to be just a show where stuff happens. I don't really know exactly what that entails yet. It is going to be sort of a hodgepodge of whatever. It could be more discussion like this. It could be an exclusive kind of like guest interview. It could be painting minis or something like that. Could be some world building work. I don't really know. It's going to change every single time, but it is going to be coming out on the first and the third Sunday of every single month, called Sunday Brunch. Seems fitting enough for a show built entirely around morning time and getting stuff rolling in the morning. If you are interested, go check out my Patreon, because there is a bunch of stuff on there that I'm very excited about now. So, yeah. There you go. Anyway, getting into what we are actually talking about today, I want to talk a little bit about why you should play high-level adventures. So often in 5th edition, we have adventures that end up capping out or ending around level 12 as sort of like the top end, which is perfectly fine and perfectly fair. That is a super, super high level when relating it to, your average person, as we talked about last week when we talked about how much more powerful adventurers are than commoners. But all of that is to say that we don't necessarily need to stop at level 12. A lot of times people do stop at level 12 for a variety of reasons. One of them is power. One of them is the fact that it is actually very difficult to conjure up a compelling linear story. Linear is a stretch. It's D&D. That will take you from, levels 1 to level 20. It's a lot easier to work with level 1 characters than it is level 20 characters. They are essentially just demigods at that point. By all accounts, they are pretty much unkillable, in spite of the fact that, they're still in the hundreds hit points as opposed to like thousands and stuff like that. But that's not really the point. They are hard to deal with, and that is the reality. But they are so much fun to play, and honestly, they are a lot of fun to run for as a DM. So let's talk a little bit about why it is that you should be running a high-level game. And just sort of stick with me on this one, okay? Because it is... I'm probably going to end up repeating a few things a lot of the time, but it is... I think that those are things that are worth repeating pretty much every time I do that. So, first up, there are certain game features, essentially, that simply don't come online in your average campaign that lasts, 1 to 12. So, running this high-level adventure means that you're going to actually get to experience a lot of those higher-level game features. My, maybe even favorite, but top 3 favorite subclasses in 5th edition is the Horizon Walker Ranger. I adore Rangers with everything that I am, and I understand that the Gloomstalker is objectively the best one, like from a power standpoint, but the Horizon Walker becomes an absolute monster after level 11, because its level 11 feature comes online, which allows it to just teleport all over the place. And so here's the thing, right? You don't get to do that until the very end of the campaign if you make it to level 12 in a 1 to 12 campaign. Most campaigns really do kind of top out at about level 10. So you just never even get to see that. And honestly, the other couple of the lower level features for Horizon Walker, not that great outside of like hyper specific situations. They can like detect portals and stuff like that, which doesn't mean anything if you're not running a plane hopping sort of campaign or game or anything like that. So it's important to like be able to use those features. They are written in there for a reason. The high level features are the things that make adventurers feel absolutely ludicrous for the most part. There are some of them that have very low level features that are like super powerful, but that's its own whole thing. So getting to play with those features, honestly, like it's so fun. It is just the most fun you can have a lot of the time. It is, to be fair and very clear, it is very much about like combat at that point and less about like roleplay and stuff like that, which is why, as I transition to my next thing, a lot of times high level adventures like this, like if you just want to run level 20s, are better off as random one-shots, because you get to experience those features we were talking about, and you don't have to try and build a full story that feels dangerous to these players, because these players are, gods, essentially. Level 20 adventurers are practically indestructible, unless, there's a 1,000-foot high cliff nearby, but, whatever. So definitely run these as one-shots. And if you end up really liking it, maybe launch a campaign that starts at level 15 and goes up to 20. So there is the feeling of progression still, and then move on from that. I have a mutual over on TikTok that has been posting little like snippets into their game, not like shots of their game. They aren't recording it. It's a home game, but they are playing a level 20 game where they are essentially speedrunning modules, which I think is brilliant. Right now, or last I saw, they are speedrunning Curse of Strahd, which is hysterical. And I would love to actually see that, or maybe even try it. But like, you can do something like that. You could speedrun Strahd very easily as a level 20 party. And so you are just getting to explore those features. They don't have to be long games. They can be one-shots up to 5 sessions long, like not long things at all. And honestly, if you're trying to convince new players, or players who have some experience but not a lot of experience, that's probably more the right niche. They are a phenomenal demographic for that, because they understand the rules enough to be able to like jump into it, but they haven't been able to probably experience that power level before. And that power level is something that is so much fun to get to just like have and play with, that you could probably entice them to play more often with that kind of thing. The other like really big one, because there's really 2 aspects of this if we're focusing it mostly on combat, which you kind of have to, is that as a DM, you get to play with monsters you don't really get to play with normally. Like, realistically, when was the last time you had a true ancient red dragon in your campaign? Or when was the last time that you, I mean, I know that they just kind of came out, so the Great Worms are kind of out of the realm of possibility, but like a real archdevil, like the Demogorgon, or that one's a demon, but like Zerial or something like that. Like genuine, absolute archdevil. Like these peak power monsters that you have. They are the things that are going to be actually dangerous to these high level characters. So definitely throw them at them. Why not? And honestly, like they're so much fun to play with. Like you talk about DMPCs a lot. I'll probably do an episode on those at some point here actually, because they are an interesting topic. But you talk about DMPCs, you talk about these sort of things to like help the DM feel more involved in the actual like game that is going on, which I don't really get because I love telling the story, but that's a feeling that people have. So I mean, I'm not trying to say that that is not a totally valid feeling to have. But like something like Zariel has a stat block that is as long as a character sheet, right? And their job is to use these insane, like, world-bending powers to try and murder the players. That's fun to deal with. Plus, playing these high-level monsters, they usually actually have some intelligence to them. And if you get stuck playing, you know, like, stupid grunts a lot of the time, first, you can throw in some smarter monsters for yourself. Like, that's fine. You're allowed to do that. But also, like, it is just something that you can sort of sink your teeth into a little bit more, be more strategic with, build layer actions into, because these high-level monsters pretty much all have layers, and as an effect, as a result, regional effects as well. So definitely check those out. Now, you honestly might need to adjust hit points a little bit because of the way that D&D is balanced, essentially. Player characters are balanced around having many different encounters throughout the day, and monsters are pretty much balanced to exist once, hit hard, and then die. Like Zariel, as I'm looking at it here, has an AC of 21, which is solid, but 580 hit points. A level 20 party can rip through that before Zariel even gets a turn, which is why legendary actions exist and everything like that, I will say. But, like, give them some more hit points. Why not? Have it be like a fighting ring kind of thing where they release these monsters, and it could be these super powerful individuals. It could be like a fight pit, or it could just be like people are taking bets, and somehow they manage to rip the Demogorgon out of the abyss and throw it at the party. It can just be fun to like hit stuff sometimes and feel that powerful. Like, there's a reason that if you are watching or listening to actual play shows and they score or they deal over 100 points of damage in a turn, not to mention a hit sometimes, everybody goes absolutely insane. Like, they lose their minds because that doesn't happen. That is a wild thing to have happen. And so you going to those higher levels gives you that sort of opportunity. In the same vein as game features and class features, I guess, technically, and monsters, the third thing, really, that sort of, like, caps it off for me is the fact that you then get to use those high-level spells. And if you don't know what I mean by those high-level spells, just, if you have D&D Beyond, go to D&D Beyond, filter, and set 8 and 9 as the spell level. And you'll see what I mean. These high-level spells are incredible. They are literally reality ripping and reality bending for a reason. They are so good. And they pack a crazy punch. Like, absolutely insane. And there is no reason for you to not be able to use this. They're in the game. Go ahead and try them out. You know, it's a game. Like, if everybody shows up to a one-shot night and understands that they might die, that's okay. Like, you don't have to feel bad as a DM to try and kill people that way. Just like the players won't have to feel bad about just absolutely decimating the monsters that you send their way. Because that's the point of the game that you're playing at that point. It's a lot of fun. So those are kind of like my 3 big reasons to run a high-level adventure, because it's a lot of fun. And honestly, how often do you get to play those high-level characters or get to run for those high-level characters? It is kind of a one-of-a-kind experience. Now, if you want to run a long-term campaign that runs from levels 1 to 20 or something to 20, I would recommend, first off, if you haven't already, take a look at the module, the Dungeon of the Mad Mage. It is the only official published thing that goes that high. It is balanced, obviously, for like 3 to 4 people, but you do have the ability to run a published game that goes that far. Excuse me. And so it is available to you. You have the ability to find it. If you want to run a homebrew game that runs that far, might I suggest to you watching Campaign 1 of Critical Role, because it is a good sort of like power structure to be able to like run with things. But running a game that runs to those high levels is genuinely a lot of fun. My current home game has been running since May of 2019, so we're coming up on 3 years here now. They are currently level 16. The intention was always to go from 1 to 20, because it's all of their first 5th edition campaign. And it has been so much fun, because they are getting to experience the full scope of the power curve in Dungeons and Dragons. And honestly, I haven't had that hard of a time keeping it challenging for them. You end up learning your party, and you can balance things in that way. And so I highly recommend homebrewing a game as well, because you can be a little more hand-wavy with a lot of the stuff, and you don't have to be as sort of locked into some of the more finer details. But that is everything I have to talk to you guys about on that today. Moving forward, let's talk about what shows we have coming out today. It is Tuesday, which means that we have a good handful of shows here. We have Diary of a Dragon Pit, Star Wars First Resistance, which again is playing using SW5E, Dungeons and Daddies, Bombarded, Hekva D&D, Glass Cannon, and The Queer Casters. Highly recommend checking out those shows. Send them a little bit of love. Let them know that I sent you there. I don't know that any of these people really know who I am, but why not? It can't hurt, really. That is all of the shows that we have, and that is everything I have to talk to you guys about today. Thank you so much for making me part of your morning routine. I really do appreciate it, and thank you so much in particular to my patrons. And again, Patreon has just been revamped. My Patreon has just been revamped. So please go check it out. See what there is to see there. There's a link to it in the description of this episode. We have a new show. We have suggestion box. We've got all kinds of different things that I am super excited about. I am working currently, don't tell anybody, but I'm working currently on getting merch figured out, because that'd be really cool, right? I mean, I, at the very least, would love to have, I don't know, a mug with the logo on it. So, stay tuned for that. I am working on getting that figured out as fast as I can here. But hopefully I will see some of you guys on Sunday. I will obviously see you tomorrow for this show, but hopefully I'll see you guys on Sunday for Sunday brunch. But, like I said, that is everything I have to talk to you guys about today. Don't forget, drink tea, play D&D, and keep on rolling.